Hey everyone, this is John. I haven't done a video in a while, so I wanted to do one. And I wanted to talk about freelancing. First of all, you should subscribe and click on that link below. But I wanted to talk about freelancing because it's what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks. And so, it pretty much started out of desperation because I've been working on this startup for a while and it hasn't really been going very well. But I think a lot of it just because I've been wasting my time doing stupid things that I think are important but are not actually important. But I just started marketing, actually. It's kind of hard to succeed without marketing, but I've been marketing lately and I've got my sales funnel all set up and things are good on that front. But I still got to pay the bills, and that's where freelancing comes in. So I got to the point where I had $1.30 left to my name, which is pretty sad and kind of embarrassing. And it wasn't even in like a dollar. It was like literally dimes, nickels, and pennies that were, just kind of laying around in my car. So I ended up having to freelance, because I refused to get a regular job. I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. I've been programming for a while. I gotta start freelancing. And so yeah, now I'm freelancing. But you gotta face your fears. You got to do the things that you are afraid of doing. It's almost like the thing that you don't want to do, the thing that you're afraid to do, is the thing that you most need to do. And I've found that to be true for me. But yeah, so I gotta pay my car insurance and all that kind of stuff because it's expired. And yeah, I got into a really big mess just because I was afraid to freelance. And I didn't want to, I wanted my startup to work, but it's kind of like I'm marketing to freelancers. So, you gotta you gotta do practice what you preach. But anyway, so yeah, freelancing, luckily and fortunately for me, is really not nearly as hard as I thought it was going to be, because I tried a little while ago, and I failed miserably because I freaked out. I had this deadline, and the guy, he gave me a deadline, and he's just like, yeah, I want this done. Go ahead and give it to me, and I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never looked at code base that large before. I had only very little or very briefly looked at other people's code. And so, I just wasn't very experienced. And I did not succeed in helping that client. And I want to say that it's really not that hard, but your mind will crack under pressure, and it will freak out, and you just won't be able to think straight. And if you're dealing with things that you're unfamiliar with, like FTP and all this kind of stuff, you're gonna have a bad time if you haven't done it if you're not familiar with it. So you gotta chill, and you just gotta focus on the very next step. So if you're having a hard time getting into the server, maybe you should focus on that first. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is you just got to take it one step at a time. And it's getting a little dark. I'm trying to give it better lighting. So yeah, you got to chill. And I'm still living in my car, and I could have been freelancing for a long time. But I am now finally saving up for a van, and I'm actually making money. So I'm actually able to make progress towards that. And I think that's another thing that's important, is like small victories. But I haven't really talked about freelancing very much yet. What I wanted to say is there's a certain technique that I've done that seems to work pretty well. And what I found to work for me. Sorry, it's dark. What I found to work for me instead of working for a freelancer, or instead of working as a freelancer for a client, if you find somebody who is also a freelancer or who runs their own business, you can help them with their projects. And that's what I did. So instead of finding my own client, I worked for somebody who has their clients. And because they've got several clients, they've got several pieces of the project that need to be done. And they're of varying difficulty, So I talked with him about what my skill level was, and he handed me projects that were easier to start, and then we slowly worked up to the more difficult stuff. So I'm actually doing more difficult projects now, but I started out with the really easy stuff. And that's what's really cool about working for somebody who's a web developer instead of a client, is they can work with you not only with your schedule, but also with your skill level. So even if you're brand new, you can help somebody out in some way. Be like, hey, so what I recommend doing is contacting local web developers, in your city, or web designers even, and just being like, hey, I would like to help you out with some of your projects. And they'll probably be more than happy to let you help. And you can set it up as a contractor, and that way you can start getting paid right away. So even if you're brand new, you can make, $5 or $10 an hour, and you get experience. And that is the golden thing right there, is getting experience. Because in the beginning, you don't really need to worry about the money, you need to worry about the experience. And if you have a full-time job, that's why being a contractor is best, because they'll get the work done regardless of how much you can help them. So if you find, as long as you're upfront with them, you talk to a web developer and be like, hey, I want to help, but I can only work on the weekends because I have a full-time job, or I can only help you out on Saturdays because I've got kids and a full-time job, or whatever. So you basically just talk with them and to communicate and figure out what type of situation works best. And they'll pass on some easy projects or hard projects or whatever, and that way you can get experience. And what's really cool is the experience will come quick, and you'll start to feel pretty confident in being able to handle your own clients, and it also gives you time to do what you want or need to do. So if you're busy and have a full-time job, you can tend to that and your family and all that kind of stuff. If you're working on a startup, you can tend to that as well. So you can work as much or as little as you want. You just have to talk and be open and upfront with, what your expectations are, and they will do the same about what their expectations are and stuff like that. So working for a web developer, in the beginning at least, is a really good idea, and I highly recommend you start with that. So instead of trying to go find your own clients, just get comfortable working in somebody else's code and get comfortable, being sort of like a freelancer, because you want to tackle one thing at a time. So get yourself some experience, and then start trying to tackle on get your own clients. So I think that's a really good first step, and the way to do that is to it's still dark. The way to do that is to just contact your local web developers or web designers and be like, hey, I want to help you out on your projects. And that's about it. And it's really simple. Just go do that, and that will get you some experience. And then once you start feeling confident, you'll go ahead and you'll probably, you won't need me to tell you this, but you'll start looking for your own clients. Or this is a good way for you to start building your product. If you're more interested in building like a startup or whatever, you can, use your spare time to build a product. But whatever you want to do, freelancing is a good way to start, and I believe contracting is probably the easiest way to start, especially for a beginner who doesn't feel ready. So that's about it, and have a good day.